My name is Chloe, and at 35, I pride myself on being meticulous and organized. As an auditor for a large company, my attention to detail is essential, both at work and in my personal life. My friends often tease me about my enthusiasm for organization, especially when it comes to managing finances, saving receipts, making timely tax payments. But for me, these habits are crucial in maintaining order. Let me tell you about how I met my husband, Theodore. It was at a gathering hosted by our mutual friend, Victoria. That evening, I was chatting and enjoying some wine with college friends when Theodore arrived. He was slightly older, exuding confidence, with a charismatic smile. He worked as a manager at a food sales company. "Hey, I'm Theodore. Mind if I join you?" he asked, beer in hand, eyes locking onto mine. "Sure, I'm Chloe. Nice to meet you," I replied, smiling. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of hiking and classic rock. A few months later, Theodore invited me to a barbecue at his sister Audrey's house. It was my first time meeting his family, and while Audrey welcomed us warmly, her kids were a handful, screaming, running around, tossing toys. Despite the chaos, Theodore seemed unfazed, even amused by their energy. As our relationship deepened, Theodore proposed to me during a scenic hike. At the top of a hill, overlooking a stunning valley, he asked me to marry him. Our wedding was beautiful, but the chaos continued, particularly with Audrey's children. Theodore found their antics amusing, while I quietly struggled with my frustration. After our marriage, Theodore and I decided it was time to buy a home, moving out of our rented apartment. One evening, we sat down to discuss our finances, eager to start this exciting new chapter. With our shared love of organization, I felt optimistic about our future despite the occasional challenges his family presented. As we navigated the process of buying a new home, Theodore raised a practical concern. "Chloe, we need to figure out how to divide the expenses," he said one evening, lounging on the couch in our current apartment. "I've been thinking about that too," I replied. "I'll take care of buying the furniture, appliances, and some art pieces to decorate. What about you?" Theodore, always surprising me, had his own idea. "How about I buy you a new car? I know your old one has been a hassle," he offered with a considerate smile. The idea delighted me. My car was barely hanging on, and the prospect of a reliable replacement was more than welcome. We dove into house hunting, and after weeks of searching, we found a charming, though slightly expensive, house. We decided it was worth the investment. Moving in was chaotic, but decorating our new space was an exciting project. I spent hours selecting stylish, high-quality furniture and appliances. Not long after, Theodore surprised me with a sleek new sedan. "This is incredible, thank you so much," I exclaimed, overwhelmed with gratitude as I hugged him. Life in our new home started wonderfully. We thrived in our jobs and cherished our cozy new space. But not everything was perfect. Theodore's laid-back attitude, which I had once found endearing, began to irritate me, especially regarding household responsibilities. One evening, after a long day, I asked him to help with the dishes. "Ah, Chloe, I had a rough day. Can't it wait until tomorrow?" he responded, his eyes pleading for leniency. I insisted on keeping our home clean, and reluctantly, he agreed. Months into our marriage, I began to worry about not being able to get pregnant. It was a constant source of stress, and despite the doctor's advice to be patient, anxiety set in. To make matters worse, Theodore's sister Audrey, who lived in a neighboring state, visited frequently, bringing her chaos with her. Every time she came over, she would unload her marital problems on me. "Chloe, you won't believe what David did this time," she'd start, her frustration palpable. I'd try to steer the conversation elsewhere, hoping for a break from the drama, but Audrey wouldn't have it. Her kids were just as disruptive, turning our home into a circus, running around, fighting, and causing noise. After a long workweek, all I wanted was peace, but it was impossible with the constant chaos. "Guys, please calm down," I'd plead, trying to restore some order. "Why are you always so uptight, Chloe?" Audrey would snap, adding to the tension. Amidst these challenges, Theodore and I continued to navigate our life together. Each time I tried to address Audrey's children's behavior, I'd find myself saying, "They're making a mess. Audrey, I just cleaned the house," but my patience was running thin. One day, when I expressed my frustration, Audrey shot back, "Well, maybe if you had your own kids, you'd understand." Her words cut deep, not just because they were harsh, but because she knew about my struggles with fertility. It felt like a personal attack, and I was stunned that Theodore said nothing in response. "Theodore, are you going to let her speak to me like this?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. To my dismay, Theodore brushed me off. "Chloe, calm down, you're making a big deal out of nothing," he said, taking Audrey's side once again. "It's not nothing, she insulted me in our home," I exclaimed, tears welling up. I was at my breaking point, tired of being disrespected in my own home, of feeling like Theodore always sided with his sister. Something had to change. Then, one Saturday, Audrey showed up unannounced, her kids in tow, announcing she was going shopping. "Fine, Audrey, but make it quick," I said, my stress evident. She thanked me and left, leaving me alone with her kids. I was trying to prepare dinner, but it was impossible to focus with the kids running around and causing chaos. "Can you guys keep it down?" I called out, hoping for a moment of peace. They ignored me, and soon a loud crash from the living room sent me running. My grandfather's priceless antique Chinese vase lay shattered on the floor. My heart sank. "What the hell happened here?" I demanded, my voice shaking as I surveyed the damage. "We were just playing," one of the kids mumbled, avoiding my gaze. "This vase is priceless. It belonged to my grandfather. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I was shaking with fury. Just then, Theodore walked in, calm and clueless. "What's going on?" he asked. I pointed to the shattered vase. "Your nephews just broke my grandfather's vase. Look at this mess." His response only inflamed the situation. "Calm down, Chloe, it's just a vase, we can fix it," he said, dismissing my feelings. "It's not just the vase, Theodore, it's about respect. I'm tired of this. Every time Audrey comes over, our house becomes a disaster zone, and you don't seem to care," I shouted, my voice cracking. Audrey walked in at that moment, shopping bags in hand, and looked annoyed by the commotion. "What's all this yelling about?" she asked. I pointed to the remnants of the vase on the floor. "Your kids broke my grandfather's vase. Audrey, look at this mess." Instead of apologizing, she retorted, "Well, maybe you should have kept a better eye on them." "Chloe, are you kidding me? They're your children." "Audrey, I shouldn't have to watch them," I shot back, my anger reaching its peak. Theodore simply shook his head, annoyed. "You're overreacting, Chloe, just drop it," he said. I was fed up. "Overreacting? I've had enough of this. I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter in my own home," I finally shouted, standing up for myself, determined to make a change. The disrespect had become too much to bear. I knew I couldn't continue like this. For the sake of my dignity and happiness, something had to give. Then, one morning, as Theodore sat at the kitchen table munching on toast, he casually dropped a bombshell. "Chloe, I need to tell you something. Audrey's getting divorced, and she and the kids are moving in with us for a few months." I nearly dropped my coffee. "Are you serious? Our house is already a madhouse when they visit for a day. How are we supposed to handle them living here for months?" I asked, incredulous. "She's my sister, Chloe, she needs our help. You need to be more understanding," he replied, as if this was the simplest thing in the world. "Understanding? I've been nothing but accommodating, but this is too much. Why can't we rent a place for her nearby? I'll even pay for the first month's rent," I suggested, trying to stay calm. "No, she'll be better off here. Plus, you can help with the kids and keep things clean," he said, as if this were the most obvious solution. "I'm not a babysitter, Theodore, I work too, and I need to relax when I get home," I argued, frustration building. "Stop being so selfish, Chloe, it's family, they need us," he countered. "I'm not being selfish, I'm just asking for a reasonable solution. I'm not going to let my life be turned upside down," I shot back, voice trembling with exhaustion. I felt my anger flare as I retorted, "Well, they're coming tomorrow evening, so you'd better get used to it," Theodore declared, rising from the kitchen table and leaving. I stood there, blindsided and crushed. It felt like a betrayal, one I hadn't seen coming. The next morning, still simmering from our argument, I got dressed for work and went to grab my car keys, only to find they were missing. When I called Theodore, his voice was unnervingly calm. "I took the car, it's mine, remember? I'm giving it to Audrey for the kids," he said matter-of-factly. You're giving my car to Audrey? Are you serious? I asked, stunned. It's not your car, Chloe. I paid for it, and she needs it more than you do, he replied, dismissing me entirely. That was it. I couldn't take any more. Theodore, you've taken everything from me, and I'm done, I said, my voice shaking with anger. What are you talking about? Stop being so dramatic, Chloe, he scoffed, failing to understand the depth of my hurt. Standing in the hallway, holding my phone, I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. How had it gotten this far? Without thinking twice, I called a moving company. I need a team to move some furniture today. It's urgent, I said, voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside. The movers arrived a few hours later. As I directed them, a strange sense of relief began to wash over me. Take everything, beds, sofas, chandeliers, even the faucets, I instructed, watching my things disappear from the house. With every item loaded onto the truck, I felt a little more free. The movers would be taking everything to my mom's house, my new beginning. After the last piece of furniture was gone, I handed the movers a tip and headed out. The phone calls from Theodore began almost immediately, but I ignored each one, my pulse racing with a mix of anxiety and newfound strength. That evening, there was a sharp knock on my mom's door. I opened it to find Theodore standing there, his face flushed with rage. What the hell, Chloe, what did you do? He bellowed as he stormed into the living room. I took my things, Theodore. You took the car, so I took what I bought, I replied, calm despite his outburst. This is insane. You stripped the whole house bare. Where are Audrey and the kids supposed to sleep? He demanded, clearly livid. That's your problem, Theodore. You made this mess. Now, you deal with it, I retorted, crossing my arms. You're a thief, Chloe. You stole everything, he yelled, flailing his arms in outrage. I didn't steal anything. Here are the receipts, I said, pulling out a folder from my bag and showing him proof of every purchase. He flipped through them, his anger quickly turning into frustration. Fine, Chloe, if this is how you want to play it, I'll file for divorce, he spat. I took a deep breath and handed him a stack of papers. Already done. Here are the divorce papers. Sign them, and we're done, I stated, feeling calm in a way I hadn't in months. He stared at the papers, his face pale. You're really serious about this, aren't you? Dead serious, Theodore. I deserve better than this, I replied, my voice unwavering. He took a pen from his pocket, signed the papers without another word, and handed them back to me. Fine, Chloe, have it your way. He turned and stormed out of the house, the door slamming behind him. I stood there, feeling a mix of relief and sadness, but deep down, I knew it was the right decision. That night, I sat with my mom, recounting everything. She listened attentively, her support unwavering. Chloe, you've been through so much. It's time you focus on yourself and your happiness, she said, pulling me into a comforting hug. Thanks, Mom. I just need time to figure things out, I replied, feeling the weight lifting from my shoulders. In the days that followed, I settled into a new routine, organizing my things at my mom's house and planning my next steps. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. I had reclaimed my life, and there was no turning back. After the divorce, Theodore and I sold our house and split the proceeds. I began searching for my own place. One afternoon, while sitting with my mom in the kitchen, I scrolled through apartment listings on my laptop. Mom, I think I found the perfect place. It's a small apartment downtown, close to work, I said, showing her the pictures. She smiled as she leaned over to take a closer look. It looks lovely, Chloe. Have you called the realtor? Not yet, I replied, already feeling excited at the prospect. Well, go ahead and call. You deserve this, she encouraged. I smiled at her support, then picked up my phone and dialed the realtor. After a few rings, a warm voice answered. Hello, this is Ethan. How can I assist you? Hi, Ethan. My name's Chloe. I saw your listing for the downtown apartment. Is it still available? I asked, fingers crossed. Yes, it's still on the market. Would you like to see it? He asked. That would be perfect. How about tomorrow afternoon? I replied. Great, let's meet at 4 p.m. He confirmed. The next day, I arrived at the building and found Ethan waiting outside. He greeted me with a warm smile and a handshake. Hi, Chloe. It's great to meet you, let's take a tour, he said. The apartment was everything I'd hoped for, cozy, functional, and charming. The view from the small balcony was perfect, and I could already picture myself living there. This place is ideal, Ethan, I'll take it, I said, feeling a wave of relief. After signing the lease and receiving the keys, I began preparing for the move. Over the next few days, I packed up my things at my mom's house and arranged for movers to help with the heavy lifting. On moving day, my mom and a few friends were there to help. Chloe, this is such a wonderful new chapter for you, my mom said, giving me a hug. Thanks, Mom, I'm so ready for this, I said, my heart light as I headed toward my new home. By the time we arrived at my new apartment, everything was unloaded and arranged. I looked around, feeling proud and content. It was the start of something new, and I was ready. That evening, I invited my mom and friends over to celebrate. We sat on the floor, eating pizza and laughing, enjoying each other's company. To Chloe and her new adventure, my friend Victoria toasted, raising her soda. Thanks, everyone, I couldn't have done this without you, I said, gratitude welling up inside. Later, as I sat on my balcony, gazing at the city lights, I reflected on my journey. I had come so far, and I was proud of what I'd accomplished. I heard from friends that Theodore had bought a small apartment with the share of our mutual funds. He was living there now, with Audrey and her kids, struggling to make ends meet. One day, I was surprised to get a call from Theodore. His name flashed on my phone, and I hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello, Theodore, what's up? I asked, my tone neutral. Chloe, please, just hear me out, he began, his voice filled with desperation. I know I messed up. I'm sorry for everything. As I listened to him, I realized how far I had come. My life was better now, new beginnings, new possibilities. It took you this long to realize? I asked, incredulity creeping into my voice. I know it's late, but I miss you, Chloe, I miss us. Can we start over? I'll do anything to make things right, he pleaded. I shook my head, feeling a mix of pity and irritation. You think you can just waltz back into my life? No, Theodore, it's over. I'm done with that chaos. I've changed, Chloe, I'll prove it to you, he insisted. No, I said firmly, standing my ground. I've moved on. I'm at peace now. You need to find your own path, Theodore. Please, Chloe, he begged, his voice breaking. I'm sorry, but no. Goodbye, Theodore. Take care, I said, ending the call. As I sat there afterward, I felt a sense of finality and relief. Theodore was struggling, but I couldn't let his problems drag me back into a life that no longer fit me. Later that day, I met Victoria for coffee. She raised an eyebrow when I shared what had happened. Theodore called. What did he want? He begged me to take him back and let him move in, I replied with a smile. Victoria burst out laughing. Are you serious? What did you say? I told him no, I'm not going back to that mess, I said, chuckling along with her. As the day went on, I realized how far I had come. I had reclaimed my life, and no one was going to take it from me. Walking home that evening, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The chapter with Theodore was finally closed, and I was ready for whatever came next.